Hello, everybody. This is A Father's Crisis. I bring you another TikTok discussion where we talk to a woman who has been going through a custody battle for 9 years, and she says there was some domestic violence, and we talk a little bit about domestic violence, and the name calling and the ad hominems go flying. So we'll just dive right into it and get to exactly what was said here.
What is it?
Father's Crisis.
Father's Crisis.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow you. I know.
I talk mostly about, I do more serious stuff on my TikTok. Talk about fathers' rights and men's rights issues, especially trying to reform like family court to try to get men to have a better 50-50 custody being kind of the standard for after separation. Look how she's looking at me saying this stuff. Like she's already offended. And divorce, so fathers can be in their children's lives more.
That's funny. I'm in a custody battle with a narcissist right now. He didn't want my child for 9 years.
We'll find out later on that wasn't true, by her own admission. So when the stories start to change as they go on, it's really hard for me to start believing that some of these women are actually telling the truth and being honest with themselves about what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Now he does. Riddle me this. Is it because he has a new girlfriend?
Or maybe you don't like that he has a new girlfriend. I don't know. So
yeah, but he's really trying to work it in that we have 3 attorneys. One for me, one for my son, and one for my ex-husband.
Right. So you have a guardian ad litem for your son then? Yeah. So, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, and if I'm overstepping, just let me know.
No.
So you said for 9 years. How old is your son now then?
9. He was never part of his life.
Okay. So were you guys?
I know it is. That's why he's a narcissist, and he won't even go to therapy.
Every woman who's ever broken up with a dude, the dude's always a narcissist. 100% of the time. 100%. It's like every time there's a breakup, the dude has to be a narcissist. It is such an overused word. It's like less than 1% of the population's medically diagnosed as narcissist.
Like we've been asked to go to therapy and he won't
go. Therapy is heavily feminist, and especially with counseling like this, especially done by the family courts, it's basically useless. For like child, what are those called? Child reunification therapies. Mm-hmm. He won't even do that. Does he live close by? Does he live in Indiana, or does he live out of state?
Yeah, he is in Indiana.
Okay. So he doesn't live too far away?
No.
Okay.
He's just an in and out dad.
Right. So has he, what kind of contact has he had in those 9 years?
Just what he has, what the judge ordered in the beginning.
What the judge ordered in the beginning, but he never sees him? The story starts to unravel almost immediately.
And basically my schedule when I was a hairdresser, so we'd take him then. But it's all complicated because our story is very complicated, and I don't mind sharing this, but I can't share too much because he would get upset because we are in a custody battle. But
no, I understand because I'm in the same boat too. So go ahead.
9 years ago, he came after we had a very nasty, abusive relationship. I got out of it because he was cheating on me with his ex-wife at the time. I'm wife number 1. Wife number 2 was literally married a month after we divorced.
So you could say she's probably very bitter about that breakup.
That time, though, when he got with the new girl, he then wanted my son. And then it got domestic violence again. So when he was taking me to actual court, karma bit him in the butt. And yeah, he actually had to decline custody because he didn't want the courts. And at that time, I wasn't really wanting to share his background of what he had done with the last girl.
So if you're already getting lost, the dude did cheat. So we'll take her word for on that. That the dude was cheating, and obviously, if he was married a month after their divorce, probably was already seeing this woman. That's bad on him. But I guarantee you, if she would have been like, okay, we'll do 50-50, no court battle, probably would have been in his life that whole time. Then 3 years goes by, and the new wife accuses the guy, this dude, of domestic violence. So now this dude's been fighting for custody for 3 years, but she said at first that he didn't want to see his kid ever. And now, because he has domestic violence claims against him, he has to concentrate on that stuff. So he's already fighting for 3 years, spending all the whole, who knows what kind of money on that. She said that they have 3 lawyers, and when you have a guardian ad litem, but either both parents have to pay or one person has to pay, usually the father. So he's probably paying at least, 1.5 to two lawyer fees for this custody battle, and then has to deal with whatever is going on with his now new ex-wife. No wonder he just is like, I can't do all this at once. It's no wonder that happened. She refused to do equal custody with him from the beginning, probably because she was bitter that he cheated and moved on. That's probably what truthfully happened here.
Prior to me, after me, I guess, basically. So, and this was a court battle for 3 years after a divorce. So I spent a lot of money on attorneys.
So all that money she could have spent on attorneys, she could have just done split custody, saved all that money, and the kid probably would have been a lot better off.
Very insecure. Oh yeah, he is. So anyway, he ended up declining custody because he was getting divorced then, because the girl kicked him out, left my son and him on the front steps, had a gun pulled on him in front of my son.
So the lady that he was divorcing pulled the gun on. That's what I was a little confused on. I probably should have followed up on that. But the way that she made it sound was like a gun was being pulled on the father. It seems like the domestic abuse claims were probably false, or both parties were physical, especially if a gun's being pulled on the other dude. This guy is an idiot too. It sounds like getting in relationships with these types of women.
So I didn't pull up the dirt. I just said, fine, whatever. If you're dropping it, you're dropping it. So we're fine for 3 years, and now he's taking me back because he's a new girlfriend.
So his life's back on track, and now he wants us to see his kid.
And my son's having some difficulties. They figured out he's dealing with some trauma. Go figure. And so right now the gal has to decide like what's in the best interest of my son, but my son is being tossed back and forth right now. We just got switched over from weekends to now A and B schedule, so my son's not handling it very well.
So like a 50-50 schedule?
Yeah, trying to get that.
So what exactly should have been done in the first place is now being done from what it sounds like 6 years later. I'm confused because she keeps saying it's 9 years, but it's 6 years, 3 years here, 3 years that. Time frame's a little hard to follow here. But this is exactly the schedule they should have been following from the first part. And guess what? The trauma that her son has felt probably wouldn't have happened.
Which I don't think is going to work because I can't handle that. I would not be. They want us to co-parent, but at some point you got to learn you can't co-parent with a narcissist. They just.
Well, in what ways is he not able to co-parent with you guys? With you?
Like okay, so when I call you, because like my son has, and I hate to share this too, but My son has some behavioral issues dealing with the trauma that comes out, and he has ADHD, and they're checking for some other things. He didn't even step up to the plate until after, and this is the odd part too. It's the new girlfriend and the fact that I had to put my son in a behavioral center because my son had a crisis, and I won't talk about his privacy. But he had an explosion at my house after he'd come home from his dad's house. And he was already in therapy, and there were some behavioral issues and some things that he did that triggered a crisis situation where we had to take him to a behavioral hospital. He stayed there and got fully diagnosed with what he has. And when he got out, his dad flipped out on me.
No shit. The son has been completely raised by you. Sounds like he got weekends. But you were the main parent for 6 years or 3 years or for however long it was. Okay? And now your son has all these problems that are coming around, probably because his dad wasn't around, because you fought for that, at least for the first 3 years. You said you fought to keep him away from him. And now, of course, the son's having problems. No shit, the dad's like, maybe I should take him. He's having all these problems. Maybe I should take him. Maybe he should take them.
I was like, that's when he wanted custody, because he wanted to see, like, say that he doesn't have all these issues because he doesn't believe in therapy. So it's this big one-liner. Come to find out, he just doesn't want what was said to the therapist to be known, like what's come out, which I can't say what's come out. So it's just very complicated, and he's only doing this for attention and to have control of me, and that's why he doesn't.
You fought to keep the kid away from him for the first 3 years, but you're saying that because he wants half custody, or is getting half custody now, that's controlling of him? Please. Please. It is so screwed up where women think that if they have majority custody and a father wants more custody to be equal, or that the son or daughter is having severe problems being raised by the other parent, and them saying, maybe I should take them because the other parent seems to be slacking, seems to be at least failing in some aspects of raising our kid, that maybe I should have a go at it. That's not controlling of you. That's trying to be a parent and trying to do what's in the best interest of the child. You'll see the only narcissism I'm hearing is really from this woman, and you'll hear it even worse when she starts attacking me.
He doesn't get it. I'm not going to do an A-B schedule because that's really hard on my son. I'm going to step back and be the fun mom. And if you want to do this because he's distorting my son's brain in a sense that he's making my son not like me. And he's been doing that for a really long time right now. And it's all caught on. So.
Okay, so, I mean, so let me try to give you my perspective as a father who's going through these things as well. You know, I have 2 boys that are about to turn 4 and 6. I can guarantee you that I'm nothing like as you described your ex. I can 100% tell you that that is how I'm being described by my ex. Now, I'm not saying that happens all the time and all that stuff, and that might truly be her perspective on me. I think if you look at all the psychological data that we have on children and their upbringing, when we see that children do best in an intact nuclear family, you know, with mom, dad, together. Obviously, that's the best thing for them. Obviously, right now, not how it works in almost 50% of marriages.
Right.
So, what's best for the children after that? The psychological data is very, very clear. The best thing for them if there's a separation and divorce is more of an A and B schedule. Now, you might not like that. You might not think that's good for your son or daughter or whoever.
After 9 years, though, is it good for the child?
But yes, you've already deprived the child of 9 years of his father. And we know that Dr. Warren Farrell talks about this all the time, that boys, particularly, who grow up without fathers are actually less empathetic than boys who are raised with their fathers being in their lives at least 50% of the time. So 50% physical custody. We know that is a true statistic. And you've already deprived your 9-year-old son from his father. And already at 9 years old, you had to put him in a hospital for behavioral issues, whatever those issues were. I'm sorry that he needs his father. He absolutely needs his father in his life. And this AB schedule, the 50-50 schedule, is probably what is best for him at this point. And there could be an argument to make that since he's had all these behavioral issues under your care, that maybe you're the one who should get weekends.
His mother, because he had to, because his dad set him up for failure to the point where he would make promises, well, I'll come pick you up, and then not pick him up. So who dropped the ball is what I have to say. And why 9 years?
And I'm sure you made that super easy for him, fighting him for over 3 years for custody.
Later, are you coming after me? When if you wanted our child, you had a chance in 2017. You had a chance in 2015. Boy,
but didn't you guys fight for 3 years? You said you told me, and so correct me if I'm wrong. For 3 years,
but once the domestic violence with the second wife came up, he had to drop it.
Right, because what judge was going to, yeah, exactly, because it made it almost impossible for him. As soon as a domestic violence claim, whether it's true, look how she looks and is like her facial expressions, just like they drive me up the wall. I could
true or not,
drive me up the wall.
Is painted on a father.
No, we don't do claims when two wives have literally. I wouldn't make it up if my life depended on it.
Right, I'm not talking just specifically your situation. I'm just saying in general.
I believe it, though. I believe it because he hit me while he was with her.
Okay.
So if they stop with one, they go to another after a certain amount of time. You got to understand there's a mental disorder in a narcissist.
But that word is thrown around like crazy. Only one
get diagnosed. The person who gets diagnosed with that is me. When I had to go to the DV is when they diagnosed him because I thought I was crazy, and they're like, "No, you're being abused," and I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, but only less than 1%.
Traumatized.
Yeah, but only less than 1% of people are would be diagnosed with narcissism. I think it's a word that's often used terribly.
No.
That's from the CDC.
Not overused, but it's not. No, there's that.
It's about 1% of the population.
No, it's not. Go to the domestic violence shelter for women.
I don't believe anything domestic violence shelters talk about because they are heavily skewed against men.
Yeah, she's shocked. She's shocked that CDC says about 1%. That the CDC should be the more trusted site than domestic violence shelters, who legit depend on a lot of government funding and private funding to go. So they come up with these skewed stats in order to show this is a real crisis and this is a gendered crisis. We need more money. So they come up with these completely crazy stats that are just not true. So I purposely go to more government-run websites and not domestic violence websites for that kind of info. CDC, it's like 1% narcissism.
Okay, we're gonna end this because obviously you are. Really on the other side of it, and when you
I'm looking from what the CDC says.
Domestic violence shelters means that you abuse women.
There's an accusation that I abuse women. She doesn't even know who I am. Making false accusations. Already making false accusations toward me. So now I really don't believe anything she said prior.
And you don't like the fact that they can go to a shelter because we've been.
No, I have no problem with a shelter. I have no problem with a woman going to a shelter.
Shelters save women's lives. Don't get
I'm not.
Do not.
I never said they don't. They don't help women.
I volunteer at one.
How many male domestic violence shelters are there? How many male domestic violence shelters are there?
Because men are not oppressed. They don't get left on the street. They aren't necessarily.
Do you want
hierarchy and a patriarch?
She's went all in on the patriarchy, the whole Duluth model bullshit. She's volunteers with the domestic violence shelter. She's hook, line, and sinker with this crap. We've talked a little bit about the Duluth model and how bad that is in other YouTube videos that I have done. It basically just says men can only be perpetrators of domestic violence and women can only be victims of it. And therefore, if there's any type of domestic violence disturbance call, it's 99.9% the guy. He should probably be arrested. This is where domestic violence shelters get their skewed stats because they only look at convictions and arrests. Because if you teach police officers that, hey, in a domestic violence situation, it's always the man doing the violence, not the woman. No shit, the guy gets arrested all the time, and the arrest records show that men are being arrested for domestic violence. No shit. I bring up real stats.
Patriarch chart. Believe
do you want the study?
Not at the bottom.
Do you want the study? Do you want me to show you the study where 70% of non-reciprocal domestic violence is committed by women? I can show you the study.
Where's the study done?
It's a government study. U.S. government study.
Government study. I like that. Is it Google?
Is it Google? Google's not the government. Unreal.
No, I can give you the actual study. Hold on, let me find it. I'll give you the actual study.
Okay. This is
the NCBI, which is the National. Hold on.
Yeah,
the U.S. National Library. The U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. Okay, this is from them, U.S. government. And the study they did was differences in frequency of violence and reported injury between relationships with reciprocal and non-reciprocal intimate partner violence. And this is their abstract of their findings.
Abstract.
24% of all relationships had some violence. So, and half, 49.7% of those were reciprocally violent, meaning both partners were violent toward each other.
Right.
In non-reciprocal
domestic violence shelter, you do not know that because men wouldn't be allowed in there, so you don't know what we're taught.
Right, because
12
right.
That's plus 4 more.
In non-reciprocally violent relationships, women were the perpetrators in more than 70% of the cases. So, meaning women are actually abusing men, physically attacking men more than men are physically attacking women.
Mind blown. Mind blown. She does not like this. She does not like being... I told her exactly it. Obviously, she didn't get to physically see it. But I read it, as you can see, from that source, the exact phraseology in there. So,
in domestic. That's according to this study here. I'm reading it. I gave you the title of the study. I gave you the actual government institute of that. And we only have 2 shelters in all of America, in LA and in Dallas, that are for men. We have over 3,000 for women, which I'm not saying we should reduce the amount of women's shelters, but I'm saying that when women are domestically violent toward men, society doesn't care.
Do you need a place to go, honey?
Now the being condescending now. So you can see where the narcissism truly is, and it's from her. I hope the guy that her ex gets the kid, because I do think the kid needs to be away from her at that point, because now she's just completely combative. She's unwilling to even listen to someone's other point of view, and now is just being completely conceding. about the whole situation. Like, I don't give a shit about men. And she has a boy. Do you think that attitude about I don't give a shit about men has at all rubbed off on her own son?
Do you get left out? Do you
my ex stabbed me, admitted it in an email, and I submitted that to evidence in my own trial. Judge said he didn't care.
But did you have backup? Did you have
No, men don't have backup. Look, when a man calls police, yes, she has so many resources at her disposal. Obviously, because there's so many domestic violence shelters for women. And if I as a man called the police and said that my wife physically harmed me, I am actually more likely to go to jail as a perpetrator, even if I didn't hurt her or touch her, than she is. Yeah.
She's completely dismissive, shaking her head, doesn't want to listen. If I did that to her, I'd be a narcissist. I'm part of the patriarchy, all this stuff.
That's also a statistical fact. Yes. Look, if a woman, if an ex or woman goes after a man, and all he does is grab her hands to prevent her from hitting him, did he do anything wrong by grabbing her to prevent harm to himself? I would say no. However, if he holds her hard enough, he might have put bruises on her arm because she's thrashing and trying to get away from him. And then police are called. Since she has bruises, the man goes to prison even though he wasn't violent.
Okay, but you did just state that the bruises were put on her. So those are bruises
simply from holding on and restraining her so she doesn't hit.
We're cutting. You know what?
She can't even concede that would be wrong. It's women are always in the right. Men can't be victims of domestic violence. And this situation to her can never happen. She doesn't want to hear it.
Trigger right now to me because you're a violent
trigger.
Man.
There it is. I'm a violent man. I did not accuse her of anything. I did not call her any names. She said that I was just called me a violent man and called me violent before, twice now with these false accusations.
I'm not a violent person at all.
And anybody with gamer headphones on is not what I need in my life right now. You do not speak very clear facts, and I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to shut you down.
I gave you actual statistical data, and if you want to ignore that, it's fine.
I have way more data than you do, and
no, she didn't present any data, just her feelings.
I'm just not trying to do that tonight because I'm trying to enjoy my night. But you are on some shit. And, yeah, we're going to end this. Triggered.
That's a shame.
Triggered. She's triggered. But, yeah, that was my conversation with that woman. She had to come out and start, attacking me personally, attacking my gamer headphones, even though, again, I'm using this for YouTube. I used it for TikTok. I don't even game. That's the funny part. I don't even game, and she wants to make fun of my gaming headphones. But the whole thing is just ridiculous to me that she first said that he didn't want to see his kid for 9 years, but then admits that he was trying to fight to see his kid for the first 3 years. She's just a liar. That's all she is just a plain old liar. Then says, "Oh, my kid is having all these problems, even though I've had full custody of him almost his whole life. I don't know what the fuck's going on. It must be my husband's fault or my ex-husband's fault." It's just crazy. It's just crazy how many single moms think that way. That they're so willing to blame the ex that they have pushed away, that have denied access to their kids, and then when their kids start having actual freaking problems, they just continue the cycle and blame the ex, even though the ex wasn't around due to their meddling and purposely trying to make sure that they don't see their kids. But it can't possibly be them raising the kid wrong. Can't possibly be they're the reason why the kid doesn't have a father in their life. Can't be those reasons. because women would then have to take these types of women would have to take responsibility for what they've done and to their own children. There's too many women out there like this, and too many men are going through child custody and divorces with women like this. Can you imagine being in a relationship with that woman? What it would be like? It's unreal to me, and I feel bad for the person you feel the worst for is the son, because it does seem like the dad who's out who cheated and all this stuff was a little bit at fault of the divorce itself. And the dad isn't Mr. Perfect either. I feel bad for the son. His dad was out of his life. Whether that woman was even if the woman was telling 100% the truth, the problem is the dad wasn't in his life. And she did say that even though he was fighting to see the kid for the first 3 years, she fought against that. So she fought against having the father in her kid's life, at least for the first 3 years, and is now doing it again. And she hates that they have an 50-50 custody now. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should remain. Unless it can be proven that this woman, the way that she's been raising the kid, was the kid's problem. Which, from talking to her, I could probably see it being her problem, being her fault. But, mothers are perfect. They're superheroes. These single moms are superheroes. They do no wrong. And I just feel bad that she can have zero sympathy for men who are being domestically abused. And she herself is volunteering at a domestic abuse shelter. And she has a son who's also already dealing with some problems, whatever those problems are. Because he knows he's not going to get any sympathy from his mom because his mom hates men. It's pretty clear that his own mother hates men. Hates him because of the gender he is. And that's what feminism has brought. This is the type of women feminism has brought. Male-hating women who end up, really hating their own sons because of the gender that they are. It's a shame. I mean, that's all I have really to say about this TikTok here. I'll try to bring more of these if you guys like them. If you do, please like, follow, share my YouTube. I'm trying to get up over 1,000 subscribers, so please like, share, comment, everything in order to get this in front of people. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys return to and look at my other YouTube videos and my other TikTok videos where I have different types of conversation with different women here.